What's up, everybody? This is Johnny English with Broken Man Radio. And you know, if you were to take a tour of Jet Propulsion Laboratories, which is also known as JPL, there's one guy you're probably not going to hear about. You're probably going to have to search a little bit deeper. You're going to have to dig into the footnotes to find out about one of the original founding members, one of the chemists that was on the original team that founded JPL. This guy has been called the founding father of rocketry by people like Wernher von Braun. And the reason this guy, for the most part, hasn't been or isn't mentioned, if you were to take a tour of JPL, the reason you're probably not going to hear him mentioned, why they're not throwing him out there into the public eye, is because of his love for the occult. The point I'm trying to make is, if we're to believe NASA, if we're to believe that this organization was created to look for things, to better our understanding of outer space and you know, everything that we've been taught over the years as to why we had to go into space and why we had to build rockets and build things in space and go to the moon if we actually did. There are things here on this earth that we haven't discovered yet. There are things below the ocean floor that we haven't discovered yet, but yet there's this need to elevate ourselves into space. And NASA, even today, NASA comes out with they release information when they want us to see it, and then they manipulate that information for us to see it how they want us to see it. And it's hard to believe this organization when they've been caught up in so many lies in the past. I guess really what I'm trying to say is this group was founded by people that believed in the occult, that were very heavily into the occult. The man I'm talking about today is called, his name is Jack Parsons. Parsons believed in magic. He believed in the Force. And he said it could all be explained by quantum physics. Science and the occult are tied in together. And that's something that we really need to look hard into. Is science completely believable? Where did some of this science come from? Where did our technology come from? Where did this explosion of technology come from? Jack Parsons is pretty much a forgotten figure. He's not thrown out into the limelight. He's not put on, you know, big signs and things inside of JPL. And I mean, you really have to look to find anything about Jack Parsons. I mean, you got to understand, this guy was involved in magic. He really, really believed in magic. He was involved in the early stage of Scientology. I mean, this guy held orgies in his house. I mean, this guy was just deeply embedded into the occult. In the late 1930s, Parsons started to develop an interest in esoterics. And here's the kicker. He actually got involved with something called the Gnostic Mass at the Church of Thelema. It's either Thelma or Thelema. And that's where he came to believe in magic, a force that he felt could be explained through quantum physics. And of course, that group was led by none other than Aleister Crowley. So if you think for a second that scientists and some of science hasn't been influenced by the occult, you're crazy. It's there. They don't put it out there in the history books. They don't even put it out there when you're touring facilities that might have something to do with NASA or JPL or anything else. They're not going to tell you that stuff. They're trying to hide that. They want to keep that hidden from you, because if you know that, then you're going to start wondering, what is their actual agenda here? Now, interestingly enough, the founder of Scientology, L. Ron Hubbard, kind of stole Parsons' girlfriend at the time. And then Parsons got really even deeper into the occult, trying to actually conjure up a new girlfriend, I guess. Hubbard actually moved into this big mansion. They had this big mansion where all of these occultists, all the Aleister Crowley's little group or whatever, they all moved into this thing, and they were just constantly having orgies and taking drugs, any drug imaginable at the time, probably stuff that we see today a lot. But back then, back in the 30s and 40s, that was just real hush-hush. So his girlfriend, Sarah, ended up going with Hubbard, and Parsons just gets really jealous, and he's trying to conjure up this other woman. He finally meets a woman, Marjorie Cameron, and he thinks that that's her. She's the elemental that he had tried to summon. I mean, when he was out in the desert doing rocketry experiments and stuff like that, he would actually recite pagan poems. You know, I mean, this guy he was just way out there. He was just super deep into the occult. Then Hubbard and Sarah, his ex-girlfriend, and now Hubbard's girlfriend, convinced Parsons to invest his life savings into this yacht selling scam. They were going to buy used yachts and sell them or something to that effect. Parsons lost the vast majority of everything that he had in this little scam they had. The company fell apart, and eventually Hubbard and Sarah went on to found Scientology with what they salvaged out of the whole deal. So then Parsons actually gets into Hollywood. Imagine that, you know. I mean, I'm sure he had made several friends in his little orgy parties and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure, because they were in Pasadena. This mansion was in Pasadena, California. So of course it would only be natural that he's going to end up meeting up with some Hollywood people, and he ended up actually doing explosive works and stuff like that for Hollywood. I mean, this guy was writing weird poems, and he had weird art and stuff like that, satanic type art. And this woman he thought he had summoned, this woman, he loved her, but then he was afraid of her. And apparently even his death is a mystery. Just before a planned trip to Mexico in 1952, Parsons was 37 years old, so, you know, relatively young guy. He had received a large order of pyrotechnics for a movie. While preparing the order, there was a large explosion dealing with mercury, and Parsons was fatally wounded. So, and some people then even said it was a state-sponsored conspiracy, although it was ruled an accident. You know, there's been a lot of accidents in the world today. We see them almost every single day. So really a lot of people just don't get just how closely related science and the occult really is. You've got the Hadron Collider going on over at CERN. You've got their logo that looks like 666. I mean, there's so much stuff going on right now. They've got Shiva outside the building over there. And if you look up the god Shiva or whatever, the Destroyer is the name of the god, you know, or what they do, or I don't know, maybe that's their job title. But the point is, those of you out there that don't think that science and the occult and satanic ritualism and all these different things aren't closely related, you're just not digging far enough. You're too far involved into what's going on, sports and all these stupid game shows and all these other award shows and things like that, and movies and radio and music and all these things going on around you. They've got everybody just warped. I mean, nobody's paying attention, and that's their goal. They don't want you paying attention. That's why Parsons isn't thrown out there at JPL. If you go to JPL, they're not going to offer up information about him and what this guy was digging into and what he was involved in his private life and how it could have spilled over into his professional life. What did he know? Why, if they did take him out, what did he know? Was it something that he had done to help them? Maybe he was just a stepping stone. Maybe he was just one piece of the puzzle, one piece of the little puzzle that they needed. They needed somebody to create this ability to launch into space, to launch a rocket into space. And he was just one little step, one tiny little step. And then once he had fulfilled his side, he had to be gone. He was out of there. Maybe that's it. I don't know. Do your own research. Don't believe me. Look up Jack Parsons and JPL. See, you know, look at what articles are going to come up. I'll put a link in the description to an article that I got most of this from. And then I kind of cross-reference it with some other stuff. So do that. Do your own research. I don't expect you to believe me. I don't expect you to believe anybody. Just go out there and do your own research. Go take a tour of JPL if you want. See, just ask somebody about Jack Parsons and see what they say. I mean, that's all you can do, right? See if L. Ron Hubbard's wife or girlfriend, one of his wife's girlfriends or whatever was named Sarah. You know, there's all different ways to check these things out. But you have to do it yourself. You have to be able to do the research yourself, because you're never going to believe until you convince yourself in your own way. We all have triggers. We all have different triggers to get us to believe different things. Science and the occult are one and the same. That's a fact. And I've seen enough evidence myself for me to believe that. It doesn't mean you have to believe it. It means you need to research it and find out if it's true. If it's not true, hey, I'll be the first one to jump up and admit that it's not true. You know, like they say, every road leads to Rome, and that seems to be where it's going for me anyway. I'm John English. This is Broken Man Radio, and hopefully we're back. I thought I was going to be back sooner on the radio than obviously I'm not. I thought I was going to be back, but I'm still working out, you know, the details with work, and I've got to make sure I've got time when I'm going to do this, if I'm even going to do it, because at this point it seems like videos on my other channel, my vaping channel, seems to be taking off pretty well, And maybe that's the way. Maybe people just need a visual, that people need to look at you when you're talking. And to be honest, live internet radio really, I've been checking around, you know, I've been so out of touch, and then I started checking into it. There are a few people doing okay, you know, 1, 2, 300 listeners, a couple thousand listeners even. But for the most part, internet radio, they figured out a way to even squash that. You know, limiting your data on your phones and stuff. You know, that's how people were listening, was through their mobile phones. Now that data has been limited and people didn't even realize it was happening, they've limited the data. Well, now people can't afford to listen. They can't afford to listen to all their shows that they want to listen to, if any, anymore. So that was, you know, they successfully have not killed internet radio, but they've throttled it. They've throttled it pretty well. So hopefully we'll get something going here pretty soon with Broken Man Radio, whether it's on internet radio, whether it's on a weekly video series or something like that. I'll do what I can. We'll hopefully get things rolling here very soon. I'm John English. This is Broken Man Radio. Everybody out there have a nice week, and we hope to see you again real soon.